Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Goblin Slayer TRPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this role-playing game based on the popular fantasy series, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to start talking about the combat rules. While in combat, the game progresses over a series of rounds, while the positions of allied and enemy characters are kept track of on a battlefield. One round is 30 seconds long, and the battlefield refers to wherever the combat is taking place. All characters participating in combat, whether ally or enemy, have a position shown on the battlefield. Any obstructions such as buildings, walls, trees, or springs that might exist are also displayed on the battlefield. The Game Master should draw the positions of all obstacles and allies and enemy characters on the battlefield using a piece of printer paper or the like and show it to the players so they know what's going on. The distance between characters and other characters or obstructions is measured in meters. As a general rule, the battlefield is treated as a flat surface. However, if flying characters exist, you may also keep track of height if you wish. Combat proceeds according to 4 steps. Step 1 is setting up combat. Step 2 is determining action order. Step 3 concerns character actions. And Step 4 is when the round ends. Of this, you only perform Step 1 a single time before combat. Once that's done, going through Steps 2, 3, and 4 in order is considered one round, and they are repeated in that order until combat is over. When it comes to the end of combat, combat is finished when all characters on one side, either enemy or ally, are dead or otherwise in a state where they are unable to act. All characters on one side, either enemies or allies, have surrendered or otherwise lost the will to continue combat. A sudden natural phenomenon or unexpected event could make continuing combat impossible. So combat is done when one side has defeated the other, when one side has surrendered to the other, or if there is some other factor ending combat, perhaps an earthquake, a flash flood, something like that. If one of these conditions is met in the middle of a round, combat must still go through the round ending process. Thus, a check is still added to the attrition track. Let's talk about setting up combat. Combat setup is split into 3 parts: checking for a surprise attack, determining encounter distance, and positioning characters. The Game Master should draw the positions of enemy and ally characters, as well as obstructions in order to describe the battlefield situation to the players. If one side launches into combat before the other side has a chance to prepare, they will benefit greatly from the situation. The only ways to perform a surprise attack are to get close enough to enemies to attack them without them noticing, or to lie in wait in order to ambush them. In order to hide and move so that enemies don't notice, all players participating in the surprise attack must perform a stealth check. Compare that check score with sixth sense checks from each enemy. If the enemies are monsters, use check scores based on monster intelligence to find their check score. These checks are collectively called a surprise attack check. In addition, characters can gain the bonus from anticipate, whether they are the ones attacking or the ones surprised. Player characters who fail the check will fail in their surprise attack and be noticed. Any other player characters near the direction of the one who failed will also be discovered by enemies, even if they passed their check score comparison. In cases where the player characters foresee certain allies being discovered, basically using them as bait, and go in from a completely different direction, the opponents will be distracted by the player characters they discovered and won't have noticed the player characters hidden in the other location. In such instances, only that undetected group of player characters should be treated as having succeeded in their surprise attack. The Game Master can flavor the player character's actions or the situation. For example, maybe the enemies were asleep or drinking when deciding whether or not a surprise attack has succeeded, or add modifiers to stealth checks and sixth sense checks. If at least one player character succeeds in their surprise attack, then after combat begins, only the player characters who succeeded are able to perform actions in the first round. The other characters, that is the enemies on the receiving end of the surprise attack and or the player characters who failed the surprise attack, cannot make any moves or actions whatsoever during this initial round. Normal progression resumes starting on the second round. If no player characters were able to succeed in a surprise attack, combat begins normally starting from the first round. The player characters aren't the only ones able to stage surprise attacks. Sometimes, monsters may do the same thing. In these cases, use check scores based on monster intelligence to find the monster's stealth check scores. Now, when it comes to determining encounter distance, the Game Master should determine set distance between the player characters and the enemies. If playing a pre-made adventure, the encounter distances will be provided. Otherwise, the Game Master should set it according to the situation. However, the Game Master can also determine this randomly, depending on the situation being outdoors or indoors. Usually, the encounter distance in an indoors situation is going to be shorter. Now, when it comes to the position of characters, first the Game Master positions the monsters. After that, the player characters determine their own individual positions. Whichever player character is at the front of the party should stand at a distance from the monsters that equals the determined encounter distance. The other characters must be within 5 meters behind the player character in the front, so long as the players didn't previously announce their formation or locations in anticipation of encountering monsters. Once it's clear where all characters are positioned relative to one another, move to the next step, which is determine action order. And we are going to talk about that step in the next part of this review. Thank you for watching this part of the review. I think that the setup is pretty clear, very easy to handle. It's also quite flexible if you want to handle things according to the situation, or if you want to randomly determine the distance between the enemies and the player characters, the ambushes. It's all about context. So the Game Master has the freedom to determine things randomly, or perhaps award automatic successes if the player characters have clever ideas to ambush an enemy. Or vice versa, perhaps the enemies have set up a pretty clever ambush. This is common in Goblin Slayer, you know how crafty and devious the goblins are. This has resulted in the deaths and wars of several adventurers throughout the series. So I think this setup process encourages not only gameplay, but rewards problem solving. Using your mind as an adventurer, getting into your character and planning out those ambushes and thinking on how the enemy is preparing to strike you from behind, from above, perhaps hidden where you least expect it to be. Thank you again for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.